Hello everyone and welcome to another Gotharman Little Deformer 3 video. Today I'd like to show you how to chop samples because this is obviously an important feature of any sampling groovebox. I've got a new preset set up here, and the first thing I want to do is I want to sample some audio, so I'll press the function button and go into the sample and quick record menu. Now I've got my iPhone connected here with Instagram, playing a percussion loop by Spike the Percussionist, who has been doing drum loops of the day posts recently, which you definitely have to check out because they are really cool. I've got monitoring turned up here and the iPhone connected to the left audio input. So when I touch the Instagram app now, we will hear the audio coming in through the Little Deformer 3. Okay, I'm just going to hit record and just manually record his loop. We could of course also use auto recording so that it records automatically with the first hit, but since we're going to edit the sample later on anyway, I can show you just how to set a start point as well. Okay, so let's hit stop and now mute the iPhone again. We can audition the sample now. We've got a little bit of silence at the beginning, but now yeah, it's starting to play. That's fine. Let's hit save, and I'm just going to call this Spike and save. Okay, so now I'm going to exit the menu, and here we are already on the sample edit page. So here we can then choose the sample, which is already chosen, Spike as the last sample with a red dot here, and now we can immediately set a start point and also a length for our sample. Like I said, I want to cut away a little bit from the beginning of the sample, and I can do that here just, with the knobs and then play the sample. But actually what I find easier, especially with drum samples, is to do that with the graphical waveform view. So let's press graph, and here we can see a part of our sample. We can zoom out and zoom in again. And then with knob number 1, we can adjust the start point, which is the green line, which we can see here. And we can see that the hits start coming in here. So I will set that line, let's zoom in a little bit, just before the first hit. Yeah. You can even move it a little closer, something like this. Yeah, that sounds good. Let's zoom out again. And of course we can do the same with the end point by touching the end button, and then we can move the red line, which is the out point of the sample. Now the sample is very long, so I don't think I will loop it in its entirety, so I don't really care where the end point is right now. I will just later on chop the sample into different parts and then just jump to those chops immediately and not loop the whole thing. But it's still probably a good idea to just cut away the silence at the end here, so I'll just leave the end point where it is right now. Pressing the function button lets me save the sample as a new sample, which we'll do because then we have just a clean start and end point. I'll save it to sample bank A. And yeah, now I can choose this new sample. It's this one here, and it's called Spike Part. Let's go back to the graphical waveform editor. Now let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, back here we can see now that the sample starts with the first hit, and there we have of course other hits, and again we can zoom in or out. And so let's set some chop points. Now I can use the green line again to navigate to a hit, and then I just go function, add chop, and now we have a blue line here indicating a chop point. I also want to add a chop point to the very beginning of my sample, so I'm just going to go back to the beginning with the green line, add a chop here as well. And I can do this for all the hits now, function, add a chop. So it's very easy and intuitive when you can actually view the hits on the sample editor waveform easily. To edit a chop, simply press the chop button. And now when you play, it'll play the currently selected chop, and you just tap on the chop that you want to select, and the bar will turn dark blue. So let's go to this one here and play it. You can also loop it. And then using the adjust knob, we can set the start point of the current chop. And I thought the start point was already pretty good, but just so that you saw how it works. Okay. And of course then we could do that for the other hits as well. Now the Little Deformer 3 also has a chop mode, which is different from the graphical waveform editor, which I just showed you. And you get to this chop mode by pressing the chop button on the sample edit page. And this looks a little cryptic at first, but it's really just similar to other auto chop mechanisms in other instruments. We have a sensitivity parameter, a minimum length or decay parameter. We have also like a pre-parameter which can nudge the start point a little bit forward if we get clicks on the beginning of the sounds. And there are several modes as well, but right now for chopping beats we'll stay in the peak mode. And to try it out, I'm just going to leave it at what it is set right now. I haven't tried this before, and I will just hit chop and it will automatically generate chop points. And right now with those settings it generates 10 chop points, and we're at chop point 1 of 10 right now. So we can play this. So it's a very long chop point, actually including 3 different hits, or actually 4. And of course here we can go to a second or third chop point and listen to them. Now 10 chop points are a little too few, I think, so I'm going to increase the sensitivity. And I'm also going to increase the decay because this actually works the other way around in peak mode. So the higher the number, the shorter the decay will actually be, or the shorter the minimum length of each chop. Now let's hit chop again. Now we have 30 chop points. And let's listen to the first one. Yeah, and that sounds about right. That's just 1 hit. And then we can just quickly audition a few of them. Yeah, and a few of those, of course, are 2 hits in 1 chop, or maybe more, but at least we got a bunch more. And we could then save those chop points. And when we exit out of this menu and go into the graphical waveform editor now, and zoom out, we actually have all those 30 chop points on the waveform. So now we could actually go in here and fine-tune them or add more chop points or delete them. But of course we can also go into the chop menu here and just delete and add chop points manually here as well. Now our spike part sample is prepared and we can sequence that. Before we sequence it, we have to prepare an oscillator. So I'm just going to go to the oscillator menu, go to the mode selection and set that to sample. And now we can choose our sample here at the end, spike part. And now of course we could sequence the sample by just entering some steps, and I'm just going to do this randomly and hit play. Okay, very straightforward. But now of course we want to jump to different chops inside the sequence. And of course we could do this by modulating the chop parameter. We have a chop number parameter here which we could change. So when you change it to 10 or 15, sounds like this. And we already also see here our sample and with a little cursor where it's playing it. Now on the mod page we can modulate the chop parameter, for example with a controller track, but maybe we just want to play those samples with the keyboard keys. And for this we'll go back to the selection menu, and then with the mode we don't choose sample, but we will choose chopped keyboard mode, or CHKY. Now the sample chops are actually mapped to keyboard keys, and I'm going to exit here to get the bigger keys, and I'm going to make the keys even larger. And now we have the sample chops on the keyboard. So we could now easily go into the note track menu, and there again we have our bars, and then we could just add a couple more steps maybe, and then just draw something with our fingers. And the green bars are the ones with active steps, with active triggers, and the notes then adjust which sample chop we're playing. Okay, and if we switch to the oscillator menu again, we can now see the cursor jumping around according to the sequence we entered. This is a very easy and fun way to chop up a sample and to jump to chops directly. But of course we're working with a little deformer here, so let's just add a little bit of madness to this sequence. First let's modulate the tune parameter or the pitch parameter on the mod 1 page. Here for pitch we can choose the keyboard value, so the value we're getting from our note sequencer. And then let's just turn up the amount while we play it. Let's go back to the note track and just dial in something strong. And we can now hear that it's not only modulating the chop, but also the pitch according to our bar's height. Let's go back to the oscillator menu again. Let's add some glitchiness now, and for that I'm just going to dial down the length parameter quite a bit and turn looping on. I'm just going to play it real quick. And now, because the length is so low, it won't play the whole chop, but only part, and then it'll loop it. So we're already getting this granular vibe. Of course, we can now modulate the length parameter to let it sometimes play the whole chop or just parts of it and loop them. The length parameter is on the mod 2 page, and instead of envelope 1, we're just going to choose a random generator, which on each step generates a new random value. And we'll dial up the amount, and let's listen to how that sounds. Maybe a little bit too extreme, so we can just dial the amount down a little bit. Alright, that's it for this video. As usual, if you have any questions, go ahead and post them in the comment section below. Like, share and subscribe if you would like to see more videos. Of course, remember to click that bell button to be notified of new videos. And then, yeah, have fun with your little Deformer 3, and definitely also check out the manual, because there's still a bunch of more stuff to be discovered when it comes to sample editing, sample importing and chopping. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you soon.